Now that we've created our custom evaluation node for evaluating the lines of sight, and we've confirmed that it gives us the same results as stringing all the logic out individually, we're ready to incorporate that new custom node into our testing loop. So to do that, what we're going to do is create a new testing custom node incorporating that line of sight evaluation node. Now, you can just modify an existing testing node and add it in. In our case, I'm going to actually create a new node and bring it in there just so it has a separate name and we can kind of keep our different examples sorted out. You can grab any of these example nodes to use in your projects. But what you need to do is just basically set up some inputs from the main graph. So anything that we need to bring into their testing node to feed our custom nodes. And then you need to incorporate those new custom nodes. So I created two. In the prior steps, I created building form panelize the wall surfaces, where I pulled in the list of wall surface panels. Okay, so the panels on each individual wall. Then we're also going to use panels computing the line of sight, and that has a series of different inputs that's ultimately going to give us the computed line of sight value. So super. We're going to bring those into our new custom testing node. Then what we need to do is just link these custom nodes into the list of evaluations that are being output. We're just going to tie it into the list create, which is already in the node. And finally, we're just going to add this new node into our testing loop. So we're just going to connect it into the list map. So let's take a look at what all that looks like in Dynamo. So here we are back in Dynamo. And again, what I've done is just copied all the logic that we've been creating down here. We created our two new custom nodes. It's just down at the bottom of this graph. And what I've done is just created some inputs so we can feed those nodes. So let's take a look at that. So here's my new custom testing node. Again, you could just modify your existing one or create a new one. Let me edit the node and just take a look inside with you. So here are the new inputs. The new things that weren't here prior were the object that's blocking the line of sight, the distance that we're going to be checking, and the number of the lowest V panels to exclude. So those are inputs to the new custom nodes that we're adding in to our testing loop. Then you'll see here's the logic. I just actually copied the group. That's one of the nice things about grouping things is you can just copy the entire group, and then we just plug things back in. We have the building form that we want to make sure we're grabbing the transaction end building form because we always want the deformed building form that's been updated. The number of U and V panels are coming as inputs. Okay, we're pulling off the list of panels in each wall. And then we're feeding that into our computing our lines of sight, pulling in those panels, the object that's blocking, the distance to check, and the lowest panels to exclude. So that's just all the logic that we did on an individual case. But now, with these inputs, they're going to show up in our testing node. So let's go back out to the higher level graph. Okay, you'll see there's the node that has these new inputs down at the bottom. We're ready to use it. All we need to do is plug in some of these different values that have been plugged into the individual nodes before. Let me grab the model element, see if I can bring that up. That's the object that's blocking the line of sight. Again, that's these other buildings all joined together. The distance to check, that's the length of the sight lines that we're verifying. So if I can pull that up. There it is. And the number of the lowest V panels to exclude, that's really just the bottom panels that we don't want to include in our analysis. Maybe I'll do it this way. There we go. So we've plugged in all the values. What is still open is the parameter combinations to test, as it has been in all the other examples, because we're going to have that fed in as part of our whole search space, so our design space that we're willing to consider. That's coming out of the Cartesian products that we're feeding in. Then we need to just reconnect the list map to feed those values in. We're going to just take the all results data out. There we go. It's feeding into the list map now. We are ready to run this, although it'd probably be a good idea to save too. You can see that the lines of sight have been generated. That's the last case that was tested. It's being displayed in the Revit window. Let's pull on over here and just take a look at these values. So you can see we have the input values, we have the other reporting parameters, and this is our new line of sight evaluator you'll see it's the last value for item 4 that's pulled in there. Now that we have those results, we can either view them here or copy them out somewhere or export them to an Excel file or a CSV file, whatever's really the next step in terms of taking all these different values and combining them together into an overall evaluation that will help us to choose what we think the overall best tower form will be.